Good afternoon. Could you please give me a call back as soon as possible?
Hello, this is Greg Schlapak, and I was a member. I think I got a lifetime membership about 10 years ago. I haven't been out of trading, but I'm looking to get back into it. If somebody could call me back at 404-277-0310, I'd like to kind of catch up with what's going on with you all. All right, thanks. Bye now.
Good morning. My name is Donald Arogo. Telephone number is 972-672-6005. I was calling to get some information on the CFRN indicators with the blue arrows. I sent a text and I was given this number to call and get some information. So if you give me a call today, anytime, it's fine. Thank you.
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 14th day of October, 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. Now, the first live broadcast, that's reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you have not taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael comes on in a bit, he'll walk you through step by step where to go, what to do, get your trial going. We'll get your indicators set up today. Your trial will officially start tomorrow. That doesn't mean you'll only get a 4-day trial. You'll get 4 days this week, Tuesday through Friday. The weekend doesn't count against you, and you'll also get next Monday. So if you're listening to this broadcast after the fact, just remember, it doesn't matter what day of the week or weekend or hour of the day you sign up for the trial, you'll always get 5 consecutive trading days, even when it stretches over a weekend or even a holiday. Again, Michael will show you step by step, and he joins us about 50 minutes into the broadcast. You can see our schedule over here for the afternoon broadcast. Now, this broadcast, unlike the first broadcast, this broadcast is open to the public, everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. We start out with our daily devotional, word of prayer, some news, recap of the alerts. Then Michael joins us, provides a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. Then we do some live trading for about a half hour on the TradingView platform. And then I wrap things up with our good word for the day. Now, there's 2 different ways you can join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down the page to where it says noon broadcast, click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. Going forward, what will happen every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In that email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email, and it will automatically log you into our platform. The benefit there is you'll have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but still want to join live. And there'll be days when you're busy, can't join live, but want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel. It's easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. You already have the YouTube part memorized, so just remember CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 2,600 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a great way to get to know who we really are and how we've evolved over the years. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Just choose some days at random. Watch a little bit, jump to another day, watch a little bit. You'll get the idea. Obviously, the more recent broadcast will be more relevant to what's happening in the world today and in the markets today. But you've got an incredible library there. You can pick and choose and listen to your heart's content. Do you need to go back and mine through all that? No, you don't need to. Are there millions of teachable moments throughout all of those archives? Because each broadcast is at least a couple hours long. Yeah, there is. Okay. But if you simply show up each day now in the live training room, ask lots of questions, okay, and then participate in the discussion group in Telegram, that's really all you need to do, okay? The other stuff, that's just gravy, okay? All right then, let's get rolling with our daily devotional. We are in day 4 of 7 on this topic. What is my purpose? Well, I'll tell you, learning to love God and love others. Today's scripture, Luke 9, verses 23 through 27, and I'm sharing with you from the Message translation. Then he told them what they could expect for themselves. Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me, and I'll show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What good would it do to get everything you want and lose you, the real you? If any of you is embarrassed with me and the way I'm leading you, know that the Son of Man will be far more embarrassed with you when he arrives in all his splendor, in company with the Father and the holy angels. This isn't, you realize, pie in the sky by and by. Some who have taken their stand right here are going to see it happen. See with their own eyes the kingdom of God. Transformation. Try this when you're stressed, worried, concerned, uptight, caught in traffic. It's actually a breath prayer from John 3:30. I'm sure you've all dabbled in some kind of meditation before, okay? But this is from John 3:30. Now, to make it a breathing exercise, inhale. You must increase. Exhale. I must decrease. Then repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it. It's not very hard, is it? But how many of you will actually take the time to do it? Remember, the scripture tells us to be still and know that I am God. One day, Nikos asked Father Makarios, "Do you still wrestle with the devil, Father Makarios?" The old monk reflected for a while and then replied, Not any longer, my child. I have grown old and tired, and the devil has grown old with me. So I leave him alone, and he leaves me alone. Nikos asked, then life is easy now? Father Makarios responded, oh no, life is much harder now, for now I wrestle with God. Nikos exclaimed, you wrestle with God and hope to win? No, said Father Makarios. I wrestle with God and hope to lose. What do you think Jesus means when he tells us to deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow him? What does it mean to lose your life in order to find it? In the story from Report to Greco, why do you think Father Makarios wrestles with God and hopes to lose? I hope you'll Google that story, Report to Greco. We end our devotional today with an old hymn. I'm not going to attempt to sing it, but I am going to read just a short part of it. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in endless praise. Take my will and make it thine. It shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own. It shall be thy royal throne. The name of that old hymn is Take My Life and Let It Be. I wonder if John Lennon, no, he wouldn't, would he? Maybe he would. All right, join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, you call us to deny ourselves, to take up our cross daily and follow you. Help us to surrender our lives completely to you, knowing that true life is found in you alone. Give us strength and courage to live out our faith even when it is difficult. And remind us that losing ourselves for your sake is the path to eternal life. May we never be ashamed of your name, and let our lives boldly declare your glory. Father, we lift up all those impacted by these hurricanes. Please be their refuge and strength in this time of loss and destruction. Comfort the grieving, heal the injured, and provide for the displaced. May communities come together in compassion, and may your love shine through the efforts to rebuild and restore. Pray that your presence would be a light in the darkness as these hundreds of thousands of people move forward with hope. And God, we still pray for an end to violence and suffering in the Middle East. Protect the vulnerable, bring healing to those affected by war, and give wisdom to leaders who seek peace. May your peace, which surpasses all understanding, settle upon this region, and may your justice reign. Soften hardened hearts and open paths for reconciliation and healing. And as America prepares for the upcoming election, we seek your guidance and wisdom. Lead the nation in choosing leaders who will uphold truth, justice, and righteousness. Protect the integrity of the election itself, and grant voters discernment and courage, especially those facing challenges due to the hurricanes. May your will be done in this nation, and may we seek your righteousness as we make decisions at the voting box that will shape the future of our nation. One nation under God. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. Happy Monday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Why not? That's what I do every day at this time. Let's do it again. Pull in some fresh data here. New all-time historic high on Friday. We'll get to that in a minute when we get to the charts. Okay, we're going to start with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow's up 174 points. The Nasdaq's up 138. S&P 500 is up 38. And the Russell 2000 is up 9. No movers or shakers in the bunch, but definitely green. In the commodity basket, not so green. Crude oil down $1.72, trading 73.84 last. That's a drop of over 2.25%, or $1,740 per contract traded. Gold down $12.70, trading 26.6360 last, for a drop of $1,260 per contract traded. Silver down 43 cents, trading 31.32 last, or a loss of almost $2,500 per contract traded. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei posted a gain of 224 points. The Shanghai rose 66, which for the Shanghai, that's over 2%. The Hang Seng dropped 159 points. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE gained 39 points. The DAX gained 134 points. The CAC gained 24. Again, no movers, no shakers. We had a mixed day in Asia. In fact, the Hang Seng is the only red on my chart. It was a green day for the UK, and so far, it is a green Radio Monday here in the US of A. Now, I spoke about it on Friday, and I wrote about last night in the discussion group. My concern that we put in a higher high on Friday based on lower than normal volume. But yet here we are higher today. Now, there's a very lengthy explanation behind why such unusual behavior would happen. I won't go into it today, but possibly I will in the workshop on Thursday night. We just don't have the time to dig that deep here today. So let's go to the news. SpaceX stuck the landing. SpaceX successfully completed the 5th test flight of its uncrewed Starship space vehicle yesterday, launching from South Texas and splashing down in the Indian Ocean after roughly 1 hour. It was the second successful launch, flight, and re-entry for the world's largest and most powerful rocket. The demonstration showcased the world's first ever chopstick landing, in which the 233-foot Super Heavy rocket booster used to propel the Starship into space was caught by 2 massive mechanical arms extending from the launch tower as it returned to Earth. If you have not seen this video, and I'm sure you probably have on the news, on the internet, Google SpaceX chopstick landing, okay? And I'm sure you'll find a YouTube video. It is mind-blowing, okay? The way it caught, you just got to see it for yourself. The technique marks a major engineering milestone and furthers the company's goal of making its flagship rocket fully reusable. Now imagine, in the past, if we sent man to the moon, well, they came back, but the spaceship that took them there, that was gone forever. Imagine if every time an airplane took off, somehow people managed to end up in LA or wherever they're going, but the airplane itself could not be reused. That was the state of our aeronautics program, our space program, until this technology. I mean, the cost to build one of these rockets is, well, astronomical, pun intended. But now they're proving that this technology can actually be used over and over and over. And so the money that would normally be spent, like by NASA, to build another spaceship, can be instead of being spent on rebuilding another spaceship, it can be spent on R&D. Maybe we will make it to Mars. Starship is a key component of current NASA plans to return humans to the moon and prepare for an eventual mission to Mars. A journey CEO Elon Musk says would happen as soon as 2028. That's not that far out. The U.S. is sending an air defense system to Israel along with 100 U.S. troops trained to operate it. That's from the Pentagon. The deployment comes after Iran launched around 200 missiles into Israel earlier this month in retaliation for assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders, and as Israel has said it plans to respond. The news also comes as Israel faces criticism after more than a dozen UN peacekeepers were injured in southern Lebanon, including in an incident yesterday. The UN says Israel tanks stormed a UN base with nearby explosions, later sickening the peacekeepers. What kind of gas we using here? Israel says Hezbollah targeted its forces with anti-tank missiles near the post and that Israeli forces had backed into the post to evacuate wounded soldiers. Israel separately accused the UN peacekeeping mission of failing to demilitarize the area by allowing Hezbollah militants to operate nearby. The army pointed to tunnels at roughly 300 feet from a UN compound. Okay, all this money we've spent all these years on the United Nations, are they going to stand up to the challenge? Are we going to get our money's worth? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Stocks rose today, heading to fresh record highs as Nvidia shares climbed and investors prepared for more big bank earnings to test that rally and the chances of an economic soft landing. I still say the higher she goes, the harder she falls. And I pray I'm wrong. Tech stocks led the gains with chip giant Nvidia rising toward new highs, up more than 2% during the session. Other semiconductor stocks also surged, including chip equipment maker ASML, ARM Holdings, and Applied Materials. Earnings are taking center stage as the first full week of third quarter results gets underway. How the season plays out is seen as key to the rally in stocks as the bull market turns 2 years old. Backed by the rise of artificial intelligence euphoria and a surprisingly resilient U.S. economy, so we're told, the S&P has gained more than 60% in the past 2 years, and as I said, the S&P 500 Emini has put in a new all-time historic high. Wall Street strategists who spoke with Yahoo Finance believe the bull can keep running wild. Barring any unexpected shocks, the path higher appears to be clear. With earnings growth expected to keep accelerating and the economy on seemingly solid footing as the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates. Well, I said it Friday, I'm going to say it again. When everybody's buying is when you should be selling, and when everybody's selling is when you should be buying. Take it for what it's worth. It's an observation. I'm not giving you personal investment advice. Be careful on the upside. That's what I am going to say. At 2 years, the bull market is well shy of the average run of 5.5 years. And the total return thus far, about 60%, is a far cry from the average 180% gain. In the past few weeks, several Wall Street equity strategists have made the case for the benchmark index to rise further into both year-end and into 2025, supported by accelerated earnings for the S&P 500. Tesla, now that's another story. We're going to weigh fundamentals over hype here. Indeed, that is the lesson for Tesla investors after the EV maker's disappointing robo-taxi event last week exposed the disconnect between the stock's lofty valuation and reality. A lack of details surrounding the rollout plan and regulatory approval, plus no mention of a more affordable regular EV, left Wall Street wanting more. CFRA analyst Garrett Nelson likened the event to watching a movie with a lot of plot twists and special effects, and at the end, you're just walking out scratching your head. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my wife as we sit in our easy chairs, and a movie on Netflix ends, and it's like there's no end. And it's like they just stopped filming. I mean, and we look at each other and we go, we'll never get those 2 hours of our life back, you know. So that kind of movie. Safe to say, analysts scratching their heads was probably not the reaction Musk was hoping for when he showed off the cyber cab and robo-van concepts. Now the big issue for investors is reevaluating Tesla's stock price. On Friday, one trading session, more than 60 billion, that's B as in billion, was wiped off Tesla's valuation in a sell-off, a sharp reversal from the stock's recent momentum. Shares had soared over 70% since Musk started touting AI in April. The rally brought Tesla's market value to over 760 billion, ahead of the robotaxi announcement, more than 14 times General Motors' market cap, and nearly 18 times Ford's market cap. Nelson, who had been a longtime bull on Tesla, warned Friday's drop could be just the beginning as Wall Street reassesses everything. I got room for them on my boat if they want to join. Okay, this week we've got retail sales, big bank results, and Netflix earnings. So be on the lookout for them. Now, as you know, with Emini futures, because they trade around the clock, we rarely get at the open, which is 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday through Thursday. We rarely get gaps up or gaps down, except on Sunday night when the market's been closed for a day and a half. In earnings seasons, however, when the big names report after the bell, it is quite possible to get a gap. Okay, so I'll probably be putting out the alerts a little later than normal because I want to see how the market reacts to that gap. But keep this in mind. On the indices, a gap higher open or a gap lower open typically fills within a few hours, almost always within the same session. Okay, now I'm talking S&P, Dow, Russell, NQ, the four major indices. Okay, all right, and one more piece of news. Former President Donald Trump's social media company, DJT, is on fire on Wall Street. It's all about Trump's perceived chances of retaking the White House. Up until very recently, Trump Media and Technology Group had been in meltdown mode. Its share price dropped to a record low of $12.15 on September 23rd, marking a stunning 82% crash from its high. But the owner of Truth Social is enjoying a massive rebound of about 120% in the 3 weeks since, more than doubling its share price. It spiked nearly 50% last week alone and is up another 3.5% today, trading $28.85. He is the Teflon Don in a good way. So, all right. Let's see what we're going to look at next. I know what we're going to look at. We're going to look at last week real quick. Okay. Last week, we're now in week 324. Last week was week 323 for Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. Last week, we issued a total of 57 alerts. 9 never triggered. That gave us 48 actionable alerts, of which 5 or 10% would have been stopped out based on market structure and a very simple process that we teach all of our passport holders in their one-on-one mentoring sessions. Now today is, remember this, okay? The whole week last week, we finished out at 10%. What we've averaged over the last 18,000 plus individual handcrafted alerts, 20% or less get stopped out on a weekly basis again, based on market structure and that simple process that we teach all of our passport holders. Okay, so remember this, because today's doesn't look so pretty, but I'm not going to sweep it under the carpet, because we don't do that. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, we deal in truth. Okay, now, this recap was done this morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Since the markets opened last night, I issued a total of 14 alerts. When Valerie did the recap at 8:30 a.m., we're still waiting on the outcome of 5. That gave us 9 actionable alerts. That's pretty good. Till you get to this part. 3 stopped out, which 3 out of 9, well, that's 33%. Oh my goodness, how do you go from 10% to 33%? Well, if you take the time to look at the 2 crude alerts, it's unbelievable. One of them I know, and I think both, triggered by like a few ticks and then reversed. But hey, we call it as it lies. Now, in the beginning with the logic alerts, we used to try to recap, because the alerts, they will repeat themselves over and over. If an alert triggers once and has good results, it's probably going to trigger again and again and again before the week's out. We realized early on that we just couldn't keep track of them, that many. So we decided whatever the first trigger is. In fact, I think Valerie marked on one of the stop outs that the second trigger, the first trigger, it went over the line by like a few ticks. Then it backed up and did it again and ran all the way to the final target. But how did we mark it? As a stop out. Why? Because that's the right thing to do. Because that's the truth. Okay? Very thankful for Valerie and the attention to detail and her integrity. Okay? You can't buy that. It's just who she is. I'm not saying she doesn't get paid for what she does, but I'm just saying integrity is priceless, and she has that in spades. So when you see a recap, you know you're getting the real deal. All right, so here's where we're at. We had a whole week where we ended up with 10%. Now we've got an entire week ahead of us to bring this number down. Can't promise you we will, but over the last 323 weeks and over 18,000 individual alerts, we've averaged 20% or less being stopped out. Now, the purpose of the alerts is not so you can just trade them and not have to learn how to trade. The purpose of the logic alerts is to teach you how to read the chart, to spot the windows of opportunity, to understand where you should expect support, where you should expect resistance. Each logic alert has an entry price, an initial target that's designed to get your goal for the day. And then often there'll be a second, third, fourth, fifth target, even more, and a final trade to target. If it's a long, the final trade to target will be the weekly zone above. If it's a short, the final trade to target will be the weekly zone below. Now, all the alerts that go out on Sunday night are based on last week's zones. Why? Because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And thanks to Joseph, what happened is last night, see, I take the previous week's zones, I do all my calculations for the new week's zones, and then line by line, I go in and I delete last week's numbers and type in this week's numbers. Okay. All right. Well, halfway through the process, I got called to dinner. So I went, I ate my dinner, came back to my desk, and forgot that I hadn't finished. So if you weren't in the room and heard my confession, or if you haven't read in the discussion group my confession, I hope you're hearing my confession now. You need to go back to the weekly trading zones, and everything was right up until gold. But gold and everything below it on that list, you need to reapply those to your charts. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Not as young as I once was, by far. But again, thank you, Joseph, because I don't normally go back and look at. I work all week off of my journal, where I do the calculations and put the numbers, right? So anyway, I screwed up. Now I've confessed, and now it's your job to forgive me. Sorry. It seems like here lately I screw something up every week, but I'll just keep trying. Okay. Long before we had the logic alerts, which teach you how to read the chart, we had the concierge trade alerts. And they're different. If you're a member, trial member, read all this information. It's very important. And if you don't understand any of it, then just ask me, okay? Send me a Telegram message or whatever. Just get in touch. All right. The CTAs came out last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. All of our members and all of our trial members had all of these targets last night, right when the market opened. I think it might have been 6:03. Look down here. Oh, that's because I had to go in and change something now. I'll fix something. Yeah, so it was like 6:03 last night. Anyway, everybody had all these targets. It's the same deal every day. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'll be going over it all again tomorrow. All right, let's go look at the charts because we got some interesting stuff happening. Look at that candle. My gosh. Now, we're approaching the highest weekly trading zone. We could potentially hit it by Tuesday morning. Now, when that happens, that's an indication that the market is probably going to reverse and go all the way to the lowest weekly zone. That's if we hit the highest zone, which this week is 5980/81. If we hit that by tomorrow morning, expect a full-on reversal. Now, that's just based on history. Does it happen 100% of the time? I know somebody's going to ask. No, very few things happen 100% of the time. Does it happen more often than not? Yes, it does. All right. So the first thing we got to do is we got to fix the fib retracements. So what's the high? 5905.50. Click it. Hover over it. Drag it up. Okay. We came within 3 ticks. 5905.50. Yeah. So that's good enough. That's about as close as you can get on a daily chart. Last week, we actually got it right on the exact number. Okay. Now, what line? You saw these lines move, but this line didn't move. Okay. Because that low didn't change. What changed is the high. And so as we adjust the high from the April 19th low to the October 14th high, okay, this is now the 24% fib retracement from the low to the high. And if price keeps climbing, I'll have to keep moving this line up. Here's the 100% fib extension. But I got to looking at this on Friday. Oh, the other thing I talked about on Friday and last night. Take a look down here. Friday's volume, we did not break We did not break 1 million contracts. It'll pop up, watch it. 956,796. But yet we put in a new all-time historic high. That's often a sign of a reversal, except for one rare exception, which, as I said earlier, I'll go into those details Thursday night if you want me to. But it doesn't matter. Yes, we had lighter than normal volume Friday, and we still have higher prices today. Substantially higher prices. I mean, let's look at today's low. 58.50. That was the open last night. No, the open was 58.54.50. And the high so far is 59.05.50. So, I don't know, what is that, 50 points? Oh, come on, I wish I would stay up longer. From 54.50. I don't know, we'll call, maybe 60 points. I don't know. Now, what's the average daily range? Well, over the last 14 days, it's 56 points. Over the last 100 days, it's 66 points. So just based on that average true range, yeah, we could still go higher today. Now, the big question is do I change the fib extensions now, or do I wait till we get to the 100% fib extension? I've wrestled with this. I'm going to just do it now. All gone. So now, grab the fib extension tool. Okay. Now, before this was the most recent significant swing low, but now this is. Okay. So you want to connect that to the next significant swing high, if I can get there. And then you want to grab this guy and drag it up. See how close I got. That looks pretty close. See, I went from the low to the high to the retracement low. It's the same 14th century math that's used for retracements, but applying it in a different manner. Look where we're at. By going from this, see, before it was this low to this high to this low. But now from this low to this high to this low, we're right at the 50% fib extension. You can't make that stuff up. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm glad I did go ahead and change them today. Overhead, we now got the 62 potential resistance. And then here's the 100 up at 60.92. Okay. We got blue and climbing. Step lines on the left side of blue and climbing. We're above the BBC. It certainly looks like it's going to go to the moon. That's why Wall Street's so bullish. But just remember, when everybody says buy, it's probably a good time to sell. You sell into strength. You get more bang for your buck that way. If you sold too early, you can always rebuy. Right? Okay. All right. Now, the daily chart's important. Why? Because institutional traders look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. Has to do with account size. They have huge accounts. They trade in huge size. They move price. You and I, we're liquidity. Nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is. So whether you trade future stocks, crypto, Forex, ETFs, I want to encourage you to spend just 2 minutes with the daily chart of whatever you're about to trade on your smaller time frames. Okay. Now, Early today, if you looked here and you saw this big green rocket ship building, would you be more apt on your smaller time frame to take long trades or short trades? I'm pretty sure you're able to answer that question yourself. I mean, do you really want to short that? I don't think so. But doesn't mean there weren't shorting opportunities, because while this looks like price traveled in a straight line, as we drill down to the smaller time frames, and as you saw in the live training room this morning, there were both long and short opportunities. Okay. My point here is you get a free look over the shoulder of the deep pockets who move price if you'll make this part of your daily routine. Okay. You're able to identify major areas of resistance and support. First support would be at today's low, then the step line, and blue and climbing. Or at the 50% extension, the next major resistance is up at 59.50, which is real close to this week's highest weekly zone. All right, now these are last week's zones. Why? Because the CTAs went out last night at the open, so they're based on last week's zones. Tomorrow on this broadcast, you'll see this week's zones on my chart, because any alert that goes out after 6:15 a.m. Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern, Monday morning, are based on the new zones. So any alerts I put out today, I got a lot to do. I don't know if I will or not, but if I do, they'll be based on the new zones. And tomorrow when you tune in, you'll see this week's zones. These are last week's zones. Last week, the highest zone was up at 59.31. This week, the highest weekly zone is up at 59.80. Okay. The vertical line separates today, Monday. Here's Friday. Here's Thursday. Okay. Now, again, these are last week's zones. But this is how the zones are so important. Okay. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. When it drops to a zone, we expect support. Support always sends the market looking for resistance. Resistance always sends the market looking for support. Over and over, again and again. We were having an inside day on Friday until about 10 o'clock, and then things took off. And so on Friday, we put in a new all-time historic high right here. Okay. Now our new all-time historic high is up here. But please take notice. Now not yesterday, but on Friday, I went into great detail. I said the step line's about to cross blue and climbing, but it looks like price still wants to go higher. I said when blue and climbing gets directly above price, it becomes potential resistance because it's on its way to becoming red and falling. And look what happened. If you missed Friday's broadcast and this is new information you're hearing, you should go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN, and I did a deep dive discussion on this on Friday, okay? And it played out the way we've seen it play out over and over, again and again, week after week, for a very long time. Now, this green line's the BBC. It stands for Bull Bear Cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and anticipate higher prices. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and anticipate lower prices. When red turns to blue, we want to see price get above the green line, and then bang. When blue turns to red, we want to see price itself get below the green line, the BBC, Bull Bear Cross, and take advantage of the drop. Okay? trade every market exactly the same. Every market, every time frame, it's exactly the same. All alerts, though, are created on the 30-minute chart, like this one, 30 minutes. Nothing magic about 30 minutes, except it's time frame I chose years ago, and it served me well, and so I'm not going to broke. I'm not going to broke. I'm not going to try to fix what's not broken. Now, on this move up, okay, look at this. Price, step line, balloon climbing, BBC. I call that the perfect stack. But look at the step line. It's hooked right. It has crossed balloon climbing. Price is, this is a really unusual situation. See over here when it crossed, it still had room to go to balloon climbing. Here we're already above balloon climbing, okay? By the end of the session, I think we're going to see lower prices. Michael, I want to show you this. I changed the fib extensions today. Before we went from this low to this high to this low, but I changed them just now in front of everybody from here to here to here. And when I was done, I looked up, and lo and behold, today's high was right at the 50% fib extension, because I had to adjust this upper line to compensate for the new all-time historic high. And just amazing. That's that crazy geometry built into the markets we talked about last week. Then we got the 62, then we got the 100. Okay, guys, I've already recapped the ES CTA last night, but I'll go into a little more detail on it when I come back. But for now, Michael's going to give us a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. Then we'll do some live trading on TradingView. Then I'll be back. I'll finish the alert of all the markets, finish the recap of the alerts of all the markets, and then wrap it up with our good word for the day. And your screens look good, so take it away.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 14th day of October, 2024. So we should be about halfway through the month right now. And we are about halfway through the month. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days left. 13 business days left. And where are we as far as the business days go? We're only on the 10th business day. So this could still work out to be our best month yet. We'll get into that in a minute. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. There's no credit card required for this trial. When you click on that, it is going to bring you to this page right here, where all that we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number. There are 5 multiple choice questions. Down here, if you have Ninja Trader, give us your machine ID if you want the charts on your Ninja. If you don't want the charts and you're just going to trade on Ninja, we don't need the machine ID. Okay. If you want to have TradingView, we recommend you do get TradingView. Give us your TradingView login ID once you get your TradingView registration done. Okay. To do that, you don't have TradingView, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on trading platforms, and just follow the instructions right here. Okay, it's pretty basic. You can click on this link right here. Click on that. It's going to say this. Choose one of these. Make sure you go to a monthly, non-professional. Choose one of those. I mean, you can go with the basic, which is free if you want to, but you're gonna have very limited stuff with the basic. You don't get any custom range bars. You don't get more than one alert. You can only see one chart at a time. There's very limited things. You can only have like 2 indicators on, which is enough because that's all we use. But you can get it for free if you want to. You're gonna have to pay for data though. You're definitely gonna have to pay for data. If you're gonna trade futures, you need to pay for real-time data, and that is $7 a month.
Did you hold on to your DJT?
Yeah. Yep. I still have it.
Well, brother, you might want to take a look at it today.
Yeah. Okay. I bought it when it first came out, so it's going to be a long time before I'm making any money on that.
Well,
let's just get it. This is how far out to go. 7. It's the 8th. Okay. Well, let's go to DJT. DJT. Let's see. Okay. All right. It's getting there. Getting there.
There's such rare good news these days. I just had to share it with you. So, okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's go back years on this because I've had it for years now.
Oh, I thought it just IPO'd recently.
The DJT?
Oh, it goes
No,
back
it was
to
back here.
2016.
Yeah.
Huh.
I bought it when it first came out.
Trump
When it
Media
first came
and
out back
Technology Group. Okay.
Yeah. I
It
bought
hit a
way
record
back here.
low of $12.15 on September 23rd. An 82% crash from its high. But the owner of Truth Social is enjoying a massive rebound of about 120% in the last 3 weeks.
That is good.
Spiked nearly 50% last week and is up another 5% today, or no, almost 4%. Okay, back to you.
Okay. Well, that's all good. For Trump, it's got to get back to where he used it for collateral for that $400 million.
Oh yeah, he's got billions of dollars. He should be smiling.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the timing of it all. But
his lockup period is over. He's free to sell the stock now. So.
But he said he's not gonna. That's what he said. So we'll see. We will see. All right. So where was I? I was getting here to this. I think. Yeah. I showed you how to take the free trial. So if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 14th day of October, 2024. We ended up making 36 on the NQ, 21 on the Russell, and we had one last trade on the YM at the end for a plus 10. That got us up to 60. We did take one trade on the S. I didn't think we did, but we did take one trade on the S early on, and it was a break-even trade. I forgot to write it down, but I did add it in at the end, and I added the 0 here just to show that I did recognize it after the fact. We ended up with $585 per contract on the morning session. Today it took 10 minutes and 4 trades to get to $1,000. That means this number here was 100 at that point. It took 10 minutes and 4 trades to get that number to 100. With 10 contracts on, it was 1,000. And we took a total of 17 trades this morning. So on the month now at $8,087 over 10 business days, averaging $808 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year so far, we're at $94,225 over 193 business days, averaging $488 per contract per morning session. If you're to do the 24/20 blueprint and add one contract a month, quitting when you got the goal for the day, so far this year, you'd be up $149,628 starting with one contract in January. And you'd be averaging $2,668 per hour. You'd be trading 10 contracts right now, averaging $2,668 an hour. So this morning, made $1,000 after 10 minutes. So at the rate that we did it this morning, it'd be $1,000 every 10 minutes. It'd be $6,000 an hour the way we did it this morning. Now the way we did it Friday, it was a little longer. $47 for $1,700. At that rate, it'd be about $3,000 an hour on that day. Okay, it all works itself out in the end. To average out, it's $2,668 an hour on the year. Now, let's get into the trades we did and didn't do and all that stuff. We'll start out with the YM. On the YM, I had a mistake this morning right here. I should have gotten the goal for the day on this trade. I actually did get the goal for the day on that trade, but I wasn't watching it because I was in a Russell trade and then I wasn't moving my mouse fast enough. So we would have had the goal for the day on this one here at like 10:33 after like 6 minutes instead of 10, but I didn't get to it until over here. And over here, it had actually gone into negative after going all the way down here into positive. If I had like a 30 tick target on that, we would have gotten 30 ticks. But I had a 45 tick target and went pretty close to the 45 tick target, I imagine, right? 42 all the way down to 14. So it went 28 ticks. I got minus 10 on it. It pulled back up here. And I should have got my stop to break even. And I was waiting for it to go into break even. Every time it did, I tried to move my stop to break even and I just wasn't moving fast enough this morning. Anyway, I got minus 10 on that. I should have gotten some profit, but I didn't. And then over here was our next trade on the way. we got plus 45 on the next one. So that was great. We got it all back right there. And we're at plus 35 on that. And then we got 15 more there that got us to 50. And then right here at the very end, we got 10 more there that got us to 60. And that was it on the YM. During the break, there was one more nice trade right here and another one that just triggered right here. So 2 more nice trades during the break, both of which would have been enough to get the goal for the day. So plenty of opportunity on the YM to get the goal for the day today. Now the Russell, we didn't do much with the Russell this morning. We had that one trade right there. That got us 10 ticks, and we had another trade that got us another 11 ticks somewhere. I thought I did it during the lesson plan. I think it was right in here. I think it was right in here that I got another 11 ticks right there. That got us to 21 overall on the Russell. All right, and in the ES, we just had the one trade. Let's get to that guy. We had the one trade right here, and I was talking about Gravestone dojis and Dragonfly dojis and how they're more significant on tick bars, transaction bars, and volume bars than they are on range bars for sure. Range bars is probably the least significant for the Gravestone and Dragonfly doji. I guess the time-based bars, the minute bars, there's no significance at all with those because it just runs out of time. It doesn't show any kind of momentum one way or another. So I guess those would be the least significant. Then the tick-based or range-based, then the range-based bars, the range bars that we use would be the next in significance because every bar has to close at the top or the bottom. So you're more likely to get it a Gravestone or a Dragonfly doji with a range bar because every bar has to close at the top or the bottom. But with a momentum bar, I don't mean momentum bar, with a contract bar, a volume bar, or a tick bar, a transaction bar, if it closes at the top or the bottom, that means you have momentum in it coming from a place where it's been rejected, either a top where it's been rejected or a bottom where it's been rejected. You have momentum in the bar as the bar closes. So that is more significant with those two types of bars. And I really said that before in that fashion this morning. Sometimes, after all these years, sometimes something else comes out. Anyway, we had one trade. We had a break even on it. I was just explaining why I had those drawings there. And the NQ. Most of our trades were on the NQ this morning. That used to be all the time there on the NQ, but now it's not necessarily the case anymore. Right, and our trades on the NQ, though they could have been 48 tick trades, they weren't. This first one that we took right here was good for 8 ticks, and the next one was good for 12. That's what we got the goal for the day. That got us to 20, and then we stopped out on that one. That was a mistake right there because I didn't have a higher swing. It was probably a mistake in 2 ways. It probably should have gone to break even on it too. 99.75, 95.75 up to 6. Yeah, it went 7 points into profit. 6.5, 7 points into profit. I should add my stop at break even. So it was a mistake in 2 ways. One is that I didn't have a higher swing to go off of, and 2 was that I didn't move my stop. So I deserve to be stopped out. Minus 36 ticks, and that put me down to minus 16 at the time. I got a 4 tick win there, put me at minus 12. Then I stopped out again. That put me at minus 48. Then I picked up 48 on that one, got me to 0. Then I picked up 16 on that and got me to 16. Then I got 8 more on that, got me to 24. Then I got 12 on this, get me to 36. And that was where I ended it for the morning session. There were some more trades in here that I ended up missing while I was doing the lesson plan, but it's okay. There was one right here. It was pretty good. And one right here that would have been enough to get 20 ticks or so in it. Then it went sideways for a little while. It actually had a long trade right here. I didn't think that was a thing. Well, actually, it was going right into the zone. Maybe that's why I said that wasn't a trade this morning. I know, Miles, you had asked me. Was it this one that you had asked me about? I said it wasn't a trade. I remember it was at minus 86 something, right? No, that wasn't it. Okay. That wasn't it. It's this one right here, minus 84.78. So it was below right there. But I don't know why I said it wasn't a trade. It might be because we were going right into a zone. I don't remember. And That matter, I'm not even sure you're in here right now, Miles. Oh, you think it was? You think it was yes? Okay. Oh yeah, it was yes. You're right. You're right about that. Wait. Nico, why'd you say wait? Did you say that while I was talking? While Dwayne was talking? While Dwayne was talking. Okay. Hey, anybody that's using NinjaTrader, what are you paying for commissions? Just type in what you're paying for commissions. I'm just curious. All right. So this was during the break right here. There was a move down right here during the break. That was a decent trade. Once the ribbon spread out and you came out of the oversold, there was one right here that would have stopped you out. Couldn't take that because you had to put in a higher swing. So the next trade would have been right here. You could have gotten the stop out pack on that one right there. Okay. Thank you, Rico, for clarifying for me. All right, so we did put in a higher swing here on the NQ, so we have another trade setting up right now. Let me bring this up and see if we can put this trade on right now. It's got a low right here. See, if you want to see where the low of the bar is, you can hover over the bar like that and look up here, or you can click on this thing and look right here. All right, so the low of this bar is 325, so I'd be buying 1125 right now. Okay, now that just changed, and the low of this bar is 175, so we're buying 975. I don't think it's going to turn into a trade because the ribbon's starting to get crunched up. But the low of this bar is now 975, so we're looking at 775 on the up close. Okay, on the NQ. That's what you'd be looking at. Be something like this, 775. We'll buy a stop limit right there. Okay, do that. Low of this bar is still 99.75, so 775. And that's what we're waiting for. I don't think it's going to turn into a trade. It's possible that it will. The low is 775, so that's going to be 575 now. Sorry, 575. I'm adding wrong. Add 8 to the bottom of the bar. Right, add 8 to the bottom of the bar. 97.25 is plus 8 is 525. Okay, and that's what we're looking at here on the NQ. This last leg length was pretty good, but this pullback is pretty deep. It's gone down below this level right here. So this isn't the highest probability. This isn't the easiest and most obvious trade. That last one was an easy and obvious trade. This one, not as much. But I'm going to put it on and leave it on and see what happens with it. Right, I'm going to slide that over here. Let's run that right to the very end. Put that there and minimize the whole thing. See if you had trades going anywhere else. And we do have a trade going here on the ES just about. Okay. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I put this down in the middle, the bottom middle. So it's out of the way of the table. So it's out of the way. Okay, we're going to cancel this now because it closed down and just crunched up the ribbon. So we'll cancel that. And well, we'll see if we get another one. All right. And Rico I don't know if Dwayne went over it this morning, but you in the room this morning, Rico? I thought you were. Okay, so the ES right here, let me spread that out. The ES right here could have a trade. It's 175 up to 375. Could possibly be a trade. And that right there would be the trade. Okay. So I'm jumping in right here, and I'm in right here, 3 1/4. It should get up to right here at 5 right now. Let me just hit the play button. Okay. So this is an ES long trade right here. Now I just went in because we came out of the oversold right here, and you can see all 4 lines in the ribbon. If I spread it out, you can see all 4 lines. See? On this up close right here. Now the up close happened, and I got in a tick or two below the up close, well, 1 tick below the up close. So I got a good entry on this too. The Dom is suggesting it's going to get up to 550 right now. 550 is where the Dom is suggesting it's going to get. Now, price action is suggesting it's going to get up to this level right up here, 725. There's 725. That's what price action is suggesting it's going to get up to. All right, at least up to there. It should exceed the prior swing high is what it should do. Right. Now the rules say, if we go here, they say after 4 ticks in profit, the stop goes to break even. Right. Now, there are ways you can automate that, but if you go here to trade rules, it says it right here. 7 tick range bars have a 10 tick stop, and after 4 ticks in profit, the stop shows to break even. Okay, so there's 3 ticks. It's got to go up 1 more tick, 4 1/4, and then the stop will go to break even. I'll just hit the break even button once it does that. There it is. I just hit the break even button, drags my stop up. Now I have a target at 30 ticks and I have a stop at break even. Okay, target at 30 and stop at break even. Let's go back here. It should get up here to 725. Should get all the way up here, the high of the day, right there at 725. That's what it should do. We don't have any risk on the trade anymore, so we're just in it for the ride. This did not put in a higher swing. This did not put in a higher swing. So the yes is our only trade right now. Okay, and there it is, a break even. But we had the potential for a good trade right there. Okay. Now what time is it? 1:16. So we have 14 minutes left. We might get another trade in here. We might. Markets are getting a little tired right now. We don't have a ton of news events this week, so it's a pretty light news event week until Thursday or Friday. Hey, nobody answered me about the Ninja commissions. Anybody that's using Ninja, what are your commissions like? Getting feedback. They seem like they're too high for some people. I mean, like they're higher than they should be for some people. I think some people consider them too high. But if they are at the number that they're saying, then they are too high. All right, so on the YM, we need to get a higher swing. On the Russell, we need to get a higher swing. Everything needs a higher swing right now. All right, so let's go out and look at these other things. You know what? I'm tempted to go and see. I have not looked at my DJT stuff in a very, very long time. I haven't even logged onto that account. They probably. Let's see if he even remembers me. Because I've gone through 2 computers since the last time I logged on to that. That's okay. I'm trying to figure out. I see that. I had some BTC in that account too. I just went to look. Transfers. I have Ethereum in there. I have BTC in there. Anyway, I'll look at that later. We are looking at higher swings everywhere here right now, and we don't have them yet. We don't have them yet. We had our one break-even trade. If we go up here, we look at some other things. This is Ethereum. It should be going up like the Bitcoin, but it's nowhere near. This is what I thought Ethereum was going to get up to once it breaks out of the triangle. You see how it's breaking out of that triangle I drew in there last week? Those of you guys that were watching last week might remember I drew that triangle, or that wedge. Actually, it's breaking up above the wedge right now, but it did that the last time too. A little bit right here before it failed. That's what it's doing right now. All right, we'll see how the day closes, but that's what it's doing right there. Let's go to the Bitcoin really quick. ETC. Here it is. Ethereum, okay. Our website has all that running on it. And Bitcoin, well, right now it's showing 2,700, but I don't know if that's up, and that might be delayed. And Ethereum's up 149. On the chart, 65,840. So let's go back here. 65,840. Yeah, this is off a little bit. Yeah, the low session is down here at 865, and the high is all the way up here, 66,745. Yeah, that's big. Yes, yes. This one right here. Right here. 7,000, 71,000, just about. All right, here at 74. 74, 415. It's coming together. I think, you know, it's taken a while to get here from back here. So this time next month, if it's going to do what it's looking like it's going to do, and you know, if things go well in the elections, then we should see a big rise on this. I would think we're going to have a huge gain on Bitcoin. That is certainly possible. Now, let me look at this one. I haven't looked at the Exxon in a while. It used to be every morning around 9, it would give $1. If it gave an indication, if it gave one of the blue or red arrows, it would give $1. And today, it gave a red arrow. It gave the first red arrow. This is today. It gave the first red arrow right here, and that would have stopped you out. The second red arrow would have gotten it back. 122.83 down to 122.60. That was only 20 cents. Yeah, it would not have worked out so much this morning. Wow, there's a huge gain right here. Did something happen? Did we have earnings or something like that? Or a huge gain, huge drop right there. 124 all the way down to 122.60. Yeah, today, Exxon today, yep. I don't know either. And the bonds, I thought we had some stuff going on with bonds. Yeah, it usually shows a little thing. I just switched to bonds here. But this is bonds on a 3 range. And this is today. So there was no indication today of anything. It hasn't had indication since Thursday, it looks like. Thursday I had 2 of them, 3 of them Thursday. 1 of them Wednesday. 8th of October. I don't know. Bonds have just been dropping, it looks like. Almost looks like you get in almost anywhere and be okay. Remember back in the old .com days? You pick anything that had .com attached to it. Make some money. And here's our DJT. It is up pretty good right now. It's got a nice move going on. I like the leg lengths it's making right here. They're good. The retracement should come to about right here. kind of like the last one did. You know, all the stuff that we do in the morning, guys, it can be applied to everything that we do, right? Like the leg length up. It does. So that was our leg length up from here to here. This is our leg length up for this move. It brings us right to where we are right now. And if you draw the pullback on this, pullback went from there to there. So if we apply that pullback up here, where we currently are, if it goes up a little bit higher, we'll apply that pullback and it'll be right here in the ribbon. The way it is right now, it's going to drop through the ribbon a little bit like it did right here. Okay, that's the way it is right now anyway. We'll see. We don't have anything going on with the futures right now that we can look at. You know what I will do though? It doesn't have a higher swing. Yeah, it doesn't have a higher swing. That's what I was looking at. One thing I was thinking about though was we had a request to look at some other things like gold was one. GC will go with the leading contract, and we'll put that on the 9 range. You could do it on a 19 range as well, but you're just not going to have many trades. Okay, the 9 range gave a trade there and a trade there. Remember, you only need 10 ticks to get the goal for the day with this. And the first trade was from here at 63.7. It ran all the way up to 66.5. 3 times the goal for the day. The next trade was right. This one, yeah, right here, this failed to put in a higher high. But you would have been long from right here at 65.1, and that ran up to 66.4 for 13 ticks, right? Yeah, 13 ticks. Again, enough to get the goal for the day, but it failed to put in a higher high. So now you'd be thinking rounding top, maybe, but we're in a bunch of chop right here. So you wouldn't trade it anymore. That's pretty much what we do. If you put it on a larger time frame, like a 19 range, now because it's base 10, you're gonna want to put it on something, some multiple of 10 minus 1 is the kind of bar you're gonna want to use for this, all right? Just so it'd be easier to do the math when you have a trade set up. So the first one it had was right, well, let's just look at it in a bigger picture here on a 19 range for the whole day. First trade was right here. You didn't have anything there. You had to wait until it turned down. So the first downturn was right here. All right. And entry was 2666.6. A lot of sixes in there, but it ran from here all the way down to, well, first it ran to here before the pullback. So from 66.6, it ran down to 2.4. Plenty to get the goal for the day. The next one was right here. 3.2 down to 1.7. Plenty to get the goal for the day. The next one was right here, and that went from 3.3. The first move was down here to 2.2, which was enough to get the goal for the day, but if you stayed in it and you held on for this move down to the swing low right here, it went down to 1.6. You wouldn't have done this because it didn't put in a new low right there, and you wouldn't do anything right now. That was where the gold came together this morning. Okay, and let's look at crude. CL. Now look at crude on the 19 range. Now we'll go look at it on the 9 range. Okay, so crude didn't have a lot of volatility today. It had one nice move right here, 942. This is 10 bucks a tick too, but it went from 74.30 up to 74.78. So that was plenty right there to get your goal for the day. Several times over. The next one was right here. This one went from 74.58 up to 74.70, enough to get the goal for the day again, 12 ticks. Then it came down. It didn't put in a higher swing, so you're not looking in that direction anymore. The ribbon's all crunched up in here, so you're not looking anywhere. Yeah, and that was it on the 19 range. Let's go down to the 9 range and see what it did. So there were 2 trades that would have given you the goal on the 19 range on crude. And Miles, if you're listening right now, this is what I mean about finding a market that suits you. This is going to be not a lot of trades, but they're usually pretty good when you get them. Okay. The first trade was right in here, and the entry point would have been here. Now the margin's a bit more for crude oil and for gold. The margin's a bit more than it is for everything else, but 74.2 was the entry on that, and that ran all the way up here to 74.77. So that's That's like 5 times your goal for the day right there. And the next one was right here. That would have stopped you out.
That would have been about $500 per contract traded.
That is right. $500 per contract traded. That would have stopped you out. If you took it right here, that would have stopped you out. If you weren't satisfied getting 5 times your goal for the day on the first trade, then you would have stopped out on that and given a little bit of it back. The next trade wasn't until all the way over here. You had a short right here that did not put in a lower swing. It wasn't enough to get the goal for the day. The entry would have been here at 74.01. It dropped down to 73.90. So it's 11 ticks down to there. It actually went all the way down to here before it pulled back enough that it might have stopped you out. So it went a total of 15 ticks, I think. Then it turned around and it gave one trade right here that was enough to get your goal for the day again. So goal, 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 one stop out. This is on the 9 range now. This one right here, it was kind of ugly the way it came together. Now on this, you're gonna bump your stop to break even after 4 ticks in profit, right? On a 9 range. So 74.04, it dropped down to 73.99, 5 ticks in profit. Would have bumped your stop on that. You wouldn't have taken any other trade until it put the lower swing in, would have been right here. Give me another opportunity there that was okay. Then this was the next opportunity right here. That would have been tough. It would have been okay if you got exactly the right entry. It would have almost stopped you out several times and then moved down enough to get your stop to break even. Take a little profit in there. Then they're going to get all crunched up and it just switched over here. This would have been another one just like that last one, except in the opposite direction. Your stop would have been, if your entry point was right here at 73.99, with a 9 tick range, you're going to have a 15 tick stop. So your stop's going to be like right down here. Okay. So it would have been pretty close to stopping you out, but it would eventually give you the goal for the day right there. Okay. Just wanted to point that out because, during the break, I was suggesting to Miles that he needs to find a market that suits his personality for trading. And some of these markets move pretty slow and don't give a lot of trades. And when they do give trades, they're usually pretty good. But you can't really, I mean, if I kept track of wins and losses, then I could tell you which ones stop out most often, but that's not really the gauge you want to measure it, because the ones that stop out more often, if you put a trade on, you had a bracket on and you never touched the bracket. If you put a trade on, you just left the bracket on and it was like, let's say a 10 by 30 bracket, like on the ES, and you never touched the bracket and you let it run. You let every trade run. Then at the end of the day, you would have total wins and losses, letting the whole system run, not locking in profit where you should, not understanding where price should pull back and locking in profit that you do have, or moving your stop to break even. So you reduce your risk, your exposure. Now you could come up with some solid numbers then. And then you could say, well, this one stops out more than that one, using that criteria, right? But who's to say that that's the best criteria at any given time? That's what changes all the time. The volatility, the amount of movement that you have in the market.
Are you addressing Miles' question?
Does buying 10 contracts on a live account ever cause a different outcome compared to simulated trading? Like, will 10 contracts affect the price?
In the old days, the demo account, it didn't take into consideration a lot of things, but the more modern the demo accounts today, they're pretty much tick for tick. I mean, the technology has increased incredibly. So
yeah, I answered the second question first.
If you can get your goal, 10 days in a row in your demo account, where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less, then when you go live, the only thing that's going to be different is how nervous you are. And then you and I will have a mentoring session, and I'll go, would you change? And you'll say nothing, and I'll say, stop pulling my leg, would you change? And then before the phone call, before the mentoring session ends, you'll admit what you did different. And there's no shame in that. Everybody goes through that.
What I suggest doing when you switch from demo to live is actually run the DOMs, the demo and a live, right next to each other.
Yeah.
And when the trade happens, put the same trade on both of them. Put it on demo like you always would, and put it on live like it was demo. And and you should have the same results.
It's a great
Do
idea.
everything the way that you've been doing it. Do everything the way you've been doing it. You don't do anything different. Then you should have the same results.
And you can also go from demo to micro, then to the
Yeah,
full-size contract. That's another good way to bridge that gap.
It is. It is. And you had 2 questions in there. Does buying 10 contracts on a live account ever cause a different outcome compared to simulated trading? The question to that is not really no. And your second question was a different question. Will 10 contracts affect the price? The number of contracts, depending on what market you're in, what the liquidity is like in the market, it can affect the price, right? But those are 2 different questions. Like in here right now, 10 contracts is going to spread over 3 levels, right? Sometimes there's a spread, like right now. So you're going to miss the first, whatever the spread is, you're going to lose that. And then the 10 contracts is going to get spread out. That's why in August, when I got to 20 contracts, I was getting a lot more slippage. And it was harder for me to get the goal for the day because of that slippage. I'd stop out where I normally wouldn't stop out if I had 10 contracts on because I didn't get as much slippage. And with 10 contracts, I usually slip 1, maybe 2 ticks. And with 20 contracts, there were times I'd slip 5, 6 ticks. I'd have horrible entries sometimes. And it took me a lot longer to get the goal for the day because of that slippage, because I'd have stop outs that I wouldn't normally have with fewer contracts. So yes, it does affect. The larger the number of contracts, depending on the liquidity of the market, will have an effect.
But whatever happens in the live account is reflected in the demo account. So, right. I mean, worst case, you're a tick off. I mean,
yeah.
Worst case.
Yeah, the demo and live run so close together right now that it's, at least this is our experience with with DT Pro. I don't know what the other demo platforms are like and stuff like that, but I imagine they got to be pretty close. Right.
I mean, used to be with the demo accounts, you could only get delayed data.
Yeah.
But now you can get live data. So your simulator and your live account, they're now sharing the same data feed, whereas it used to be a delayed data feed. Anyway. Okay, I'll let you wrap up and then I'll be ready.
There we go. So Dwayne is there. So I will say, it is now time to pass it back out to Fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. But before I do that, let me say, if you haven't taken a free trial, go here to mytradingaq.com, click on the purple button. There is no credit card required for the trial. Sign up for the trials can bring you to this registration page. On this page, all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number. There are 5 multiple choice questions. Just fill those out. If you want to chart on NinjaTrader, give us your machine ID. If you just want to trade on Ninja, we don't need your machine ID. If you want to chart on TradingView, we highly recommend that. Give us your TradingView login ID. If you don't have TradingView charts, go to trading platforms right here and follow the instructions with TradingView charts. It's a 3-minute video. Okay. That is it. With that, I can pass it back out to Fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park.
Okay, recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 10 minutes and 4 trades to get to $1,000.
Good start to the week.
Yes, it is indeed. Thank you.
Okay. So Rico, I don't know if you're still out there. We've already covered the daily chart in depth, and this video, this whole broadcast, will be available on YouTube about 30 to 45 minutes once we end the broadcast. But all I did was, because we had a new high, I had to do that, make those little squares pop up, and then you hover over it till it turns green. Because if you use that, it's going to move the whole framework. You don't want to move this, okay? Because that low is that low. It's the high that's changed. Now, if we were putting in lower lows, we would be changing this line, okay? But we're not. We're putting in higher highs. So you hover over it until you match it up. And I got it as close as I could. I got it to 59.0475, and the highs 59.07 1/4. Now, so we'll try one more time. Let's see if we can get to 07 1/4. Let's see how close we can. Ooh, that's 3 ticks away. Okay, I can live with that. See, the high is 59.07 1/4. That's 3 ticks shy. Okay. But what's really important is when I did the new fib extensions, the low, the high, to the retracement low, bang. Right where we've hit is the 50% fib extension. And that should be good resistance. Okay. So back to the ES real quick. Again, all alerts are created on a 30-minute chart, both logic and concierge. The vertical lines separate today, Monday, here's Friday, here's Thursday. These are last week's zones, because the alerts that go out Sunday night are based on last week's zones, because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Okay, and if you put these zones on as soon as they came out this morning on all the markets, you need to go back to the Telegram channel where the zones come out, and from gold down, those were last week's numbers. So Joseph alerted me. I've now corrected it. So from gold down, gold all the way down to bonds. If you use those, you need to reapply the correct zones. So I told the whole long story earlier. I'm not going to do it again. But anyway, this is how zones work. From resistance to support, resistance to support, until proven otherwise. Okay. Last week's highest zone was up at 59.31, which we never got to. Now, here's where we opened last night. Okay. And price ran into resistance at red and falling. I already explained the green lines, the BBC bull bear cross. This is the CFMA1. I refer to it as blue and climbing. That's bullish. Red and falling. That's bearish. So price ran into resistance. And when the market finds resistance, it's going to go look for support. The pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't. Eventually, it will trade through. But the pullback holds more often than not. And so, once red and falling turned back to blue and climbing, and all you had to do is just get long. This candle opened at 58.57. So I'm from 57 to 65. 8 points. I only need 2 points to get your goal for the day. We consolidated there. We got another leg and a retracement to blue and climbing. That pullback held. And we got another leg and another retracement to blue and climbing that held. Now the step line is crossed. Now we talked about this in depth Friday. If you missed Friday's broadcast, you should probably go listen to it so that you understand this. I said the step line is crossed, we expect a pullback, and we got the pullback. Okay. But price went up to test resistance one more time at blue and climbing. When blue and climbing gets directly above price, see here how it's running alongside price? Here's price, here's blue and climbing. But then this happens. The step line crosses from the left side to the right side, and then blue and climbing gets directly above price. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Then it turns to red and falling, takes you right back to support. As red and falling turns to blue and climbing, well, now you want to be looking for long trades. Now, here's the thing. It's going to take you a while probably to understand this completely. Okay? But you could be looking at, now, you see this high right here? Okay. This is back on Friday. Okay. See this high? And you see this high. This high was 58.37.75. 58.37.75. Identical. Okay. Now, on your 7-tick range chart, you could have gotten a beautiful long setup right here. You could have said to yourself, okay, I've got enough room to run before I get to the weekly zone. but you wouldn't know that there was potential resistance right there. This is why you really got to learn to use multiple time frames. And don't rush yourself, don't push yourself, but do you understand how this gives you more knowledge? Okay. We knew when this candle shot up, we knew to expect resistance there. We didn't know with 100% certainty that we were going to find resistance there, but we knew that it was an easy and obvious spot for the market to find resistance. And it did. Okay. So if you had a 7-tick range tell you to go long right here, you glance over to your other monitor, your 30-minute chart, and go, nah, I think I'll pass. And you're mighty glad you did. Okay. Now again, it's going to take time. It's like, oh man, I got to look at all these time frames. No, not really. Spend 2 minutes with your daily chart. Then have a 30-minute chart running and a 7-tick range chart running of whatever it is you're trading. This way you have 2 viewpoints, and the idea is to trade with the larger flow. Okay, the 30 minutes, the larger flow. Now, the step line crossed, starting to print a red candle. Remember, when the step line crosses, like it did on Friday, expect a retracement back to the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC. Okay. So now we were talking about it probably right around in here when it was crossing. And I remember talking about the fact that price looked like it wanted to go up and test blue and climbing. Listen to Friday's show and see if I'm right. Okay. And if I'm not, let me know. And then we got the pullback. And then bang. Got one heck of a rally. All right. All right. Let's get through the rest of these markets. Here's the Dow. Same thing happened on the Dow. Look, the step line crossed, but price still went up to test blue and climbing as it was on its way to becoming red and falling. So we opened last night and price pulled back to the BBC. Now in this case, it held for a couple of hours and then it actually dropped below it. Okay. See that low right there from Friday? Now see this low right here? See Friday? That's dead. What's the low of that? That candle's low is 987, 986. 1 tick difference. Okay? So you don't know with 100% certainty that price is going to find support here before it happens, but you know there's an extremely high probability. So if your 7-tick range was telling you to go short right here, you might go, I think I'll pass until I get an area like this, which is what I call a window of opportunity. Okay. So we got to pull that top part down a little bit. So what I'm doing is not anything different than what Michael's doing, and that's where sometimes new people can get confused. Well, do I do it his way or do I do it his way? We're doing the same thing, okay? I'm just simply showing you the bigger picture perspective of what's happening. I'm giving you additional information, but the underlying principles upon what Michael does and what I do are identical, okay? This was birthed from what we were doing originally on the smaller time frames. So anyway, you're not going to learn it all overnight. However, when you hear things that somehow sound conflicting, write it down. You need to ask the question, okay, so that you have a clear head and truly understand it. And don't ever just nod your head and go, yeah, I get it. You know, if you don't get it, say so. especially if you're a member. You pay to be a member. You paid to learn how to trade. So ask. And even if you're on a trial, ask. Because we promise for 5 consecutive trading days to treat you just like you were a passport holder, so that at the end of 5 days, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision if trading is right for you, if what we do is right for you. Okay? Now, I call this a window of opportunity because, see, up here, I wouldn't want to go short because I'm expecting potential support here. And if it had kept going down, I could have got potential support at that low. Okay. Now, once that low's cleared, I got no more obstacles in my path all the way down to the zone, just 42,900/905. Okay. That is a window of opportunity. Okay. The purpose of the logic alerts is to help you learn to spot these golden areas. Okay. Now, just because you find a window of opportunity and trade it doesn't mean you'll never get stopped out. That there is no such thing. There's no holy grail. It's not possible. It defies the laws of science, physics, even God. Okay? Trading is a business based on probabilities. All we're doing is teaching you how to put the probabilities in your favor. Take out the gambling aspect. Just know, out of X number of trades, I'm going to get stopped out X number of times. The only way to not get stopped out is A, you're afraid to trade, or B, you don't use a stop, which means you'll be out of business pretty soon anyway. So, step lines, trying to cross, right? So when that cross happens, what do we expect? Price to drop to the BBC. Now, once it drops to the BBC, one of two things will happen. It'll hold or it won't hold. It holds more often than it doesn't. If this is the time it doesn't hold, then right here you got a bullish cross. That's where the blue line gets above the green line. When you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, whether it's an hour, a day, a week, or 10 years, that area will most likely be good support. At least the first time down. Probably a good bounce. Okay. Now the second attempt, make power on through it. Does it happen 100% of the time? No. Does it happen more often than not? Absolutely. Okay. And the more you're in front of the charts and the more you see it with your own eyes, you'll get to the point where you go, man, that dude kept saying that, but I don't know, it just didn't make sense. Over time, it's going to make sense because you're going to see it happen again and again. Now, Michael's only going to say so many things in the morning session. I'm only going to say so many things in the afternoon session. It's not like I'm going to break into some new thing every other day. All of our traders that have been around, which when you're on the trial, you can talk to them in the trial discussion group. Traders that have been with us for years, okay? Now, not many places let you talk to their clients before you spend your money. Very few. I don't know any, but I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there. Okay? You get to talk. You get to ask. You get to find out. Because we don't have anything to hide. We're completely transparent. Michael puts on and takes off trades live in real time. I send you trades via Telegram before they ever happen, before they ever trigger. You can't There's no way to fake that. So, and today's proof. I mean, we had 10% stop out last week. It's only Monday morning and we got 33%. But if you actually go look at the individual trades, you'll go, oh man, that's cruel. How close that came to being a perfect trade, but got stopped out by like a tick. Whatever. Price drops. From there, it's either going to head higher, it's going to head lower. It heads lower, make sure you watch this area as potential support. This area as potential support. And this area as potential support. And if it gets down here, you got a clean window of opportunity. If price breaks the top of that, into the top of that window, it will get to the bottom of the window more often than not. Now, if it's a really big window of opportunity, sometimes what will happen is you'll see price go like halfway through and then retrace, because remember, price rarely travels in a straight line. Then this, okay? Which brings up another point, and I think we touched on this Thursday night in the workshop maybe, or it might have even been on Friday during this broadcast. On the 7-tick range, the idea is to get the risk off the trade as quick as possible, okay? Remember, you're just trying to get your goal for the day. However, if you want to become a discretionary trader, and trade for bigger moves, you can get the same results by just using what you're taught in the room in the morning and increasing the number of contracts traded, But for some reason, some people, they don't want to do it that way. They want to make $1 million a day with one contract. And I try to talk them out of it, but anyway, it is what it is. Okay. Now, in the room, aggressive risk management. As soon as it moves so many ticks, you move your stop to break even. If you do that with the logic alerts, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get stopped out again and again and again. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. That's why when we get to a weekly zone, 70% of the time, it's consolidation. Okay? 20% of the time, rejection. 10% of the time, a slice. Okay? All right. Russell, here's where we opened last night. We're above the BBC. Now, this zone is 2244/45, and the low here is 44.5. So price came down to the zone, found support, ran up to red and falling, resistance, and this time it overcame red and falling. Oh, okay. So now you got blue and climbing on the open of this candle. This candle opens at 2249.7. Let's just call it 2250. So you got 4 points up to the target. It only takes 2 points to get your goal for the day with the Russell. And so when you start seeing repeated wicks on your 30-minute chart like that to the upside, that's telling you that price is getting ready to head lower. Because it tried to go higher. This was a green candle, got slapped down. This was a green candle, got slapped down. This was green all the way up, got slapped down. This was green, and then it got slapped down, turned it to red, and what do you know? Suddenly you're all the way back to the VBC. Below the VBC, you're still touching it, but look at the spike. It went all the way down to the zone and through the zone. Now, why did price stop dropping there? It's always about the look left. Okay. Now you see right there where that step line crossed blue and climbing? That's a really important area too. Okay. Remind me Thursday night, I'll talk about that in the members only workshop. So when the market finds support, it's going to go look for resistance. When it finds resistance, it's going to go look for support. Found support at blue and climbing. So you had a red candle, hit blue and climbing, sent you right back up to resistance. Now look at this consolidation. From 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just been consolidating at last week's zone. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So while we issue new zones each week, okay, the old zones still hold sway. They're still important areas. But you can only have, you just can't keep putting more and more lines on your chart. It'll get so confusing that pretty soon you can't see price. You've probably seen traders with screens like that. There's so much gobbledygook stuff on there, and you don't need all that, okay? Now, if this red candle can get below this low right here, first it's got to get through blue and climbing. That's support. Then it's got to get through this low. That's support. And then the BBC. And if it gets through the BBC, you've got a bullish cross right there. So you got to be careful. Okay. But what's the highest? See, once you've been at this a couple weeks with us, you should be able to look at a 30-minute chart and know with a high degree of certainty what the next high probability move is. And I'm telling you, the next high probability move is a pullback to the BBC. Could I be wrong? Yeah. It happened once in the 80s. I'm just kidding. But you want to get to the point, just like here, when this happened, you expect that to be support. Turns out it was. It spiked it, but it was support. You expect this to be resistance. It was, and it was, and it was, and it was, and it was. Okay? But now, the way we're positioned, price should drop to BBC. And the question becomes, does it hold or not? So, patience. You got to have patience. In Q, here's where we opened last night, right below this zone. We had red and falling, pushed us down to here. Okay. Now this first drop is right at the bullish cross, previous bullish cross. See that? See that? See that? Okay. Over and over again and again. So we drop, buyers come in, get us back above the VBC, get us above last week's zone, and then we make the run. This candle opened at 464. Well, we'll call it 465. From 465 to 512. Was that 50 points? $20 a point? So $1,000 per contract traded. It consolidated and then it kept going. Then it pulled back. Then the step line crossed. Pulled back to the BBC. Now we're up against resistance because blue and climbing has gotten directly above price. So if price can overcome blue and climbing, then you got potential resistance there and potential resistance there. Now, here's one thing I know. People who struggle for years to become a consistently profitable trader, they look at this and at what I'm saying and they go, Ah, come on. That's too simple. I use algorithms. I use the MACD. I use the RSI. I use the tricks. I use the trend. Okay, then why are you even bothering to look at my stuff if what you're doing works? Now, all those things I just said, I believe that every one of them does exactly what it was created to do. I'm not knocking those things. I'm just saying at some point you reach info overload, okay? Build your trading system as simple as possible, because all you need to do is get your goal for the day consistently, day after day after day. You know, these days of, oh, I made $5 grand and then next day you lose 10 grand. I mean, come on. That will literally make you crazy. Okay. So just keep it simple. Step line is crossed. We've already had a retracement right off that cross as we were making the cross. So we'll see what happens. Let's get this over with. Crude oil. So we had a gap lower open on crude. That's what messed me up last night, because I had the CTA set to go out right at the open. Well, I'm not going to do that during earnings season because we're going to have some gaps. So I'm just going to do things a little later than normal. But we opened almost right at the short target. Then we came down to the zone, last week's zone, and found support. Support sent us to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, down to support. Zone to zone to zone to zone. From support, up to resistance at the zone, back to support at the zone, back to resistance at the zone. We've worked very hard for many years to make things this simple. Gold, here's where we opened last night, and we dropped in the first 30 minutes right to the target. Now we caught support just above this low. Okay, drove price back up, came back to the target, spiked the target down to here. You see this low is 2660. This low is exactly 2660. So you can't make that stuff up, okay? Just got to learn to read the chart. Price gets above the zone, runs up to the target, and there was some kind of news event that sent this weird candle up. Otherwise, that would have been an unusual place for the market to find resistance. Coming through here. But let me not confuse anyone. Let's just keep it simple. Support to resistance, back to support. Now we're pulling up to a zone and VVC, resistance times 2. But you want to wait for this double bottom to get taken out. This low is 60.6. This low is exactly 60.6. And you got a bullish cross right here at 58. So you don't got a lot of room to work with there. Could you trade 60? Nope. Yeah, this is a tough spot. 59 to 58 would give you your goal for the day, but I'd just go look for another market. I mean, that's really splitting hairs there. You don't have to do that. You can just go look for a market that has a nice, clean window of opportunity, an easy and obvious setup on the 7-tick range. And when that 7-tick range matches up with what you're seeing on your 30-minute chart, that's as good as it's going to get. And you're going to still get stopped out. Over 18,000 trades in Logic 247. We've averaged 20% or less getting stopped out on a weekly basis. So to think that you're going to outdo that, you're going to waste time and treasure. And I don't know how much time or treasure you have left. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Just learn the strategy, learn to read the indicators, understand how price flows. Simple things like price travels in legs. Leg, retracement. Leg, retracement. Leg, retracement. Pullback L, and the pullback L, and the pullback L. Pullback L, the pullback L. Pullback L until it didn't. Okay. All right, silver. Huge drop last night off the open. In fact, we spiked the zone all the way down to here. Okay. But look how fast we bounced right back up to what was the stop target, the short target. So price came down to the zone. The zone's 3108/3109. This low was 3109 and a half. Okay. Price drops to a zone, you expect support. When it rallies up to a zone, you expect resistance until proven otherwise. Okay. It only takes 2 pennies in silver to get your goal for the day. 2 pennies is $100 per contract. This one candle right here opened at 3162 and ran up to 3175. $650 per contract traded. Or if you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, it's $6 grand. Just make sure you earn the right to trade 10 contracts before you start trading 10 contracts. Otherwise, you will not be a happy camper. Euro, here's where we opened, dropped right to the short target. Now, this support, where'd it come from? Last Thursday. Support bounced us up to resistance, down to support. Consolidation, and a drop to the zone. Support bounced us up to resistance at the BBC, the pullback holds more often than not. And then we dropped through the zone, found some support. Right now, price is attempting to, price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green, and it's called the BBC. Bull bear cross. Okay. High of the day. 59.07 and a quarter. So this is 3 ticks off. So I'm not going to fool with it again. Okay. I'm very suspicious of this move. It's the beginning of earnings season. Anything can happen. It's what happens when earnings season ends. Because companies spend a whole quarter painting the tape, making everything look good for that earnings report. So I'm more interested in what comes next when the other shoe drops. So become a member right here, mytradingiq.com. If you have questions, call 949-42-EMINI. Email support@cfrn.net. When you become a passport holder, you'll get 2 hours of live training every trading day. Okay? Now, if you don't learn anything in the live training room, that's because you didn't ask any questions. Now, when you're brand new, you don't really know what question you should ask. So listen carefully to the questions that are asked by other people and the answers that they get. And then pretty soon you'll be able to develop your own questions. And then pretty soon you'll kind of run out of questions. Because price can only do one of three things: go up, go down, and for a little bit go sideways. Okay? And because we don't use a million different indicators, the learning curve is pretty simple. You've never taken the trial. And yes, we do check IP addresses. mytradingiq.com. Click the button at the top of the page. It just makes it awkward for everybody involved. If you've already taken a trial and for whatever reason you really need a second trial because you weren't able to pay attention, or you had to go to the doctor, or you were sick, email us support@cfrn.net. Just be upfront, okay? We know life happens, okay? But now if you start asking for a third week and a fourth week, now you've kind of pushed the envelope. So show up, ask questions, trade along in your demo account, so that at the end of 5 days, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision. When you can become a passport holder, not only will you have 2 hours of live training every trading day, you'll have access to private one-on-one mentoring, no extra charge. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Futures, stocks, crypto, Forex, ETFs, doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance. It's a never-ending cycle. It's been in place since the inception of the markets, and it will remain in place till the markets cease to exist. Why? Because that's how markets work. As a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. You'll get the concierge trade alerts every evening, the second they're published. Every Monday morning, you'll get the weekly trading zones for the week, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And you'll be able to attend the members-only workshop every Thursday night. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Not to mention around-the-clock support and the ability, as even a trial member, to mix and mingle with our traders. You don't have to believe us. Talk to our traders. Sign up for the trial. Okay, good word for the day, and I'm out of here. Come on. Today, our good word for the day. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Serious. And most of you know what I'm talking about. Luke 22:60. While he was still speaking, a rooster crowed. The Bible says, while he was still speaking, a rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had told him, before a rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. and he went out and wept bitterly. It's Luke 22:60 through 62. Before God entrusts you with a great assignment, he will permit Satan to test you. Why? To reveal your weaknesses and strengthen you in those areas. God will allow you to fail in a smaller sphere to keep you from messing up in the larger one, hurting not only yourself, but others too. One of the wonders of the Christian life is that Jesus can take rubble and build something beautiful out of it. Peter promised never to deny Jesus, but by the time the rooster crowed, he had already done it 3 times. Repeated failure. Can you relate? You said you wouldn't lose your temper, but you did. Cock-a-doodle-doo. You said you wouldn't give in to temptation, but you did. Cock-a-doodle-doo. When does a rooster crow? Early in the morning. Good news. That means the rooster announces the beginning of a brand new day. After his worst night of failure, the sun came up for Peter. And it'll come up for you too. By God's grace, you can start your life over any day you choose. Today, you can repent of your sin and go on to do great things for God. Peter ended up winning multitudes to Christ and leading the church. So no matter how badly you have failed, God will forgive you, restore you, and redirect your steps. That's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy, with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.